Andrew sat at his kitchen table and stared at a pile of papers that felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds. He was only 28, which felt old when he was trying to pick a place to eat, but very young when he was trying to figure out how to be a dad. His father had passed away not long ago, leaving behind a giant hole in the world and a 12-year-old girl named Maya. Maya was Andrew's little sister, and she was currently sitting in the living room, staring at a TV that wasn't even turned on. The house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. Andrew knew that if he didn't do something soon, the government might try to take her away and put her with a stranger, and he couldn't let that happen. He looked at the legal forms in front of him. They were full of big, scary words like guardianship and custody. To Andrew, it just meant he wanted to make sure Maya had a place to sleep and someone to make her breakfast. But the rest of the family was making things way harder than they needed to be. His Aunt Linda had been calling him every single day, her voice sounding like she was chewing on lemons. She kept saying that Andrew was too young and too messy to raise a kid. She thought Maya should go live with a cousin in a different state, someone Maya barely even knew. Andrew felt a hot bubble of anger in his throat whenever Aunt Linda talked. He remembered when he was a kid, and his dad used to say that family sticks together no matter what. He looked over at Maya. She looked so small on the big couch. She had lost her mom a long time ago, and now her dad was gone too. Andrew was the only person she had left who knew her favorite flavor of ice cream and how she hated the sound of the vacuum cleaner. He wasn't going to let some aunt, who only showed up for Christmas, decide where his sister lived. The next morning, Andrew went to see a lawyer named Mr. Henderson. The office smelled like old books and expensive coffee. Mr. Henderson looked at Andrew over the top of his glasses and asked if he was really ready for this. He told Andrew that raising a preteen girl was like trying to catch a tornado in a jar. There would be school meetings, doctor visits, and lots of crying about things Andrew might not understand. Andrew nodded his head so hard his neck hurt. He didn't care if it was hard. He just wanted Maya to feel safe again. When he got home, he found Maya in the kitchen trying to make toast. She looked up at him with big, sad eyes and asked if she was going to have to move away. Andrew felt a sharp pain in his chest. He walked over and gave her a hug, even though she was at that age where hugs felt cringe to her. He promised her right then and there that he was going to fight for her. He told her they were a team, like the characters in those superhero movies they used to watch together. Maya didn't smile, but she gripped his sleeve for a second, and that was enough for him. The verbal skirmishes with the rest of the family started getting worse. There was a big Zoom call where everyone started yelling at once. Uncle Bob joined in, saying Andrew didn't even have a real job because he worked from home on his computer. They talked about him like he wasn't even there, calling him irresponsible and incapable. Andrew felt like he was back in middle school being picked on by bullies. He wanted to scream at them to shut up, but he knew he had to stay calm if he wanted the judge to take him seriously. He just sat there, biting the inside of his cheek, while they tore his life apart. After the call, Andrew felt like he was losing his mind. He went for a long drive and thought about giving up. Maybe Aunt Linda was right, maybe he would mess up Maya's life. But then he thought about the way Maya's face lit up when he brought home her favorite chips. He thought about how she trusted him. He realized that the family wasn't worried about Maya, they were worried about how it looked to everyone else. They wanted to feel like they were saving her, but they didn't actually want to do the work. Andrew was the only one willing to do the work. He started making big changes. He cleaned the whole house until it sparkled. He bought a big calendar and pinned it to the wall, filling it with Maya's school dates and soccer practices. He even started learning how to cook stuff that wasn't just noodles from a box. It was exhausting, and he felt like a zombie most of the time, but every time he saw Maya looking a little less sad, it felt worth it. He was proving to himself, and to the world, that he could be the person she needed him to be. Then came the day of the court hearing. Andrew wore a suit that felt way too tight around his neck. Aunt Linda was there, looking like she was ready for a fight. The judge was a woman with gray hair and a face that didn't show any emotion. Andrew's heart was drumming against his ribs like a trapped bird. When it was his turn to speak, his voice shook at first. But then he looked at Maya, who was sitting in the back row, and his voice got stronger. He told the judge that he wasn't perfect, but he loved his sister more than anything, and he was the only one who really knew her. Aunt Linda stood up and tried to say her mean things again, but the judge held up a hand to stop her. The judge asked Maya to come forward and speak. Andrew held his breath. Maya stood up, looking very small in her best dress. She told the judge that Andrew was her best friend and that he was the only person who made her feel like she still had a home. She said she didn't want to live with anyone else. The room went very quiet. Even Aunt Linda didn't have anything to say after that. The judge looked at the papers for a long time, then looked at Andrew. She said that while he was young, it was clear that Maya belonged with him. She signed the papers with a loud thump of her pen. Andrew felt like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He wanted to jump up and cheer, but he stayed professional. He walked over to Maya and they walked out of the courtroom together. For the first time in months, the air felt easy to breathe. They weren't just siblings anymore, they were a family of two. When they got back to the house, it didn't feel quiet and scary anymore. It felt like their house. Andrew ordered a giant pizza and they sat on the floor and ate it. Aunt Linda sent a mean text, but Andrew just deleted it without even reading the whole thing. He knew there would be hard days ahead, days with math homework he couldn't solve and days where they both missed their dad, but they were going to handle it together. Andrew wasn't just a guy in his 20s anymore. He was a guardian, a protector, and a big brother who had won. But Lexi wasn't going to hold her breath anymore, because she had a movie to see and a life to start living again. The final straw came on a Sunday. Leo had planned to meal prep for his whole week. He bought a bunch of chicken and veggies. When he got to the kitchen, the sink was once again full of gross, crusty bowls that had been there for 3 days. There was no room to even wash a carrot. Caleb and Maya were sitting right there, laughing at something on their laptop. Leo didn't say a word. He just took all the dirty dishes out of the sink and piled them up right in front of the TV. He piled them high, like a monument to their laziness. Caleb jumped up, looking like he was ready to explode. "What are you doing? That's gross," he yelled. Leo just looked at him with a flat expression. "I need the sink to cook my food. Since you guys love these dishes so much, I thought you'd want them closer to you." Maya looked like she was going to cry, but Leo didn't care anymore. He went back to the kitchen, cleaned the sink, and started his cooking. He didn't look back once. He realized that sometimes, being nice is just a way to let people walk all over you, and he was done being a doormat. After that, the house was super quiet. No one talked to anyone. Leo stayed in his room most of the time when he wasn't cooking or eating. He started looking for a new place to live because he knew this wasn't going to get better. You can't fix people who don't think they're doing anything wrong. As he packed his first box, he felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. He was going to miss the big kitchen, but he wasn't going to miss the mountain of dirty plates or the people who expected him to be their servant for free. After that, the house was super quiet. No one talked to anyone. Leo stayed in his room most of the time when he wasn't cooking or eating. He started looking for a new place to live because he knew this wasn't going to get better. You can't fix people who don't think they're doing anything wrong. As he packed his first box, he felt a huge weight lift off his shoulders. He was going to miss the big kitchen, but he wasn't going to miss the mountain of dirty plates or the people who expected him to be their servant